I found this story where it shouldn't have been, and once you hear it, it doesn't let go. This story is called The Breeding Grounds, and I'll warn you now it's not your average dinosaur horror tale. What happened to the men on that island didn't end in roaring monsters or some thrilling last-minute escape. It ended with nests built from bone, corpses that twitched, and hatchlings that didn't crawl out screaming. They waited inside you and made you scream from the inside out. This story was written by Mr. D. If you enjoy deep, original horror stories, hit like, subscribe, and keep your lights off. Let's begin. The island doesn't exist on maps. Not anymore. It used to be known as Isla Malverde, Spanish for unclean green. Real poetic. It was a private island somewhere in the Pacific, supposedly. A genetics research outpost backed by shady investors. What they were doing there wasn't just cloning dinosaurs. They were altering them, faster breeding cycles, spliced DNA, predators redesigned for output, not balance, until the fire. Official reports said a lab accident caused the entire facility to shut down in 2007. All personnel were lost. The whole island was left to rot under quarantine. But the right amount of money can convince anyone to reopen a grave. Marcus got the call. He was ex-poacher turned fixer, ruthless, smart, and heavily armed. He handpicked a team of 6 of us for a black market retrieval op. I was on comms and logistics. We had Lang, a disgraced biologist kicked out of a corporate genetics firm, Sanchez and Reed, both ex-military muscle. Keller, a tracker, and Bishop, who never said a word, but carried more knives than a kitchen warehouse. The plan was simple. Land on the island, locate the inner lab, retrieve any surviving embryos or genetic samples, and get out. We were told the facility was dead, that the fire wiped out everything living. They were wrong. The first thing I noticed was the silence. No birds, no insects. Not even wind at first. Just this suffocating stillness, like the trees were holding their breath. The chopper wouldn't stay no-fly zone. Marcus said we had 48 hours until pickup. We made our way inland fast, machetes slicing vines, boots squelching in mud. That's when Keller spotted it. Something half buried in the moss. At first, I thought it was driftwood, until I saw the hand. The corpse was bloated, face half missing, but the stomach, my God, it wasn't bloated from rot. It was alive with motion. Something inside was pressing against the skin, making the stomach stretch like a balloon full of claws. Translucent sacs were embedded deep in the torso, glistening with fluid. You could see things inside. Them, curled bodies with teeth and twitching limbs. Lang crouched beside it, whispering to himself. He touched the sac and said, "These aren't just parasites. They're embryonic, developed. They're breeding in people." Marcus ordered us to move, but we kept finding more. 5 more bodies in total. Every single one of them turned into a grotesque, breathing nest. It wasn't natural decay. Something was tending these corpses, shaping them into breeding chambers. They were arranged in a spiral, a pattern, like the jungle itself was being converted. Then Reed called out he'd found a living one. The man was face down in the mud, breathing shallow, eyes wide and bloodshot. His chest moved irregularly fast, then slow, like he was breathing for more than one. We tried to lift him, but he screamed the moment we touched him. And not a normal scream, this was raw, pleading agony. "They're inside. Don't let them hatch in me," he choked. Lang knelt beside him, stunned. "They're forcing gestation," he whispered, skipping the egg phase, adapting for efficiency. That's when the man seized up, and from inside his stomach came a sickening crack, bones snapping outward as his skin split open. I'll never forget that sound, like wet cloth tearing over broken glass. And then it emerged, small but fully formed, black as oil, with jagged teeth and wet, twitching claws. It opened its mouth, hissed like a broken pipe, and vanished into the undergrowth. Marcus opened fire, but it was already gone. Then the radio cut out. Sanchez tried to reach base camp, but the static was solid. Something had jammed our signal, and above us, in the trees, the clicking began. Not animal, not machine, just steady, deliberate clicking, getting closer. We were not alone on this island. And we had woken something up. We thought we were the predators. We were wrong, dead wrong, to be continued. We didn't sleep that night. None of us even suggested it. The clicking followed us through the jungle, never getting closer, never falling behind, always just out of sight, like something herding us instead of hunting. Marcus led us toward the old research compound. At first light said concrete walls were safer than trees that could blink when no one was watching. As we crested the ridge, we saw the facility half buried in vines and mist. Its outer walls collapsed, steel bones rusting like old teeth. The doors had been torn open from the inside. Claw marks ran 10 feet high across the reinforced entry. Whatever escaped didn't panic. It left with purpose. Inside, the power flickered. Weakly, red warning lights still pulsed along the floor. And the deeper we walked, the more the air changed. Hot, wet breathing, like the place had gone from structure to organism. We passed through labs left mid-experiment, cloned tissues rotted in tubes, bone saws still stained. One lab wall was scorched black, a note scrawled across it in blood or ink, "Do not let them learn." Lang grew more erratic with every step, reading corrupted files off broken consoles, whispering terms like neural imprinting, external gestation, and post-human instinct mapping. I stopped him and asked, what were they trying to do? He just smiled. Not control them, he said. Not anymore. Just serve them. Then Sanchez screamed. Something dropped from the ceiling and hit him like a wrecking ball, claws straight through his vest. He hit the floor. He was yanked upward and gone before we could even raise our guns. Blood rained down like it had been waiting, and from the vents, the clicking grew louder. Closer, Reed opened fire at Shadow's Keller. Bolted, vanishing into a hallway and never coming back. I stayed close to Marcus as we ran, descending into the final level marked bio-breeding, so no. The stench hit us before the chamber did. It wasn't rot, it was birth. Blood, bile, and something metallic. Then we saw it, the nest, built into the foundation itself, a crater of ribs and spines fused together, still twitching. And in the center of it all, her, the matriarch. She rose slowly 9 feet tall, her scales blackened by time and fire, half her face armored in fused surgical plating, one eye gone, the other burning white. She didn't roar. She clicked, and from the walls they answered. Dozens of hatchlings, some half-grown, others barely formed, emerged like a living tide. They didn't rush us. They surrounded us, cutting off every door, every vent, every path out. Marcus lifted his rifle and fired straight into her chest, but she didn't move. Instead, she walked through the gunfire, and with one swipe, opened Marcus from throat to hip, spilling his insides into the nest where the eggs drank it in like water. Lang fell to his knees, hands raised in worship. She doesn't need to hunt anymore, he whispered. She chooses. She breeds through us. One of the creatures climbed onto him, gnawing into his shoulder, and Lang just laughed, welcoming it like a child. Bishop made a stand with 2 knives, screaming silently as they tore into him, ripping chunks of meat for their waiting siblings. I was the only one left. I ran. Not because I was brave, but because I was allowed to. I made it through blood-slick corridors and silent observation decks, through a tunnel choked with bones, and finally, sunlight. I reached the pickup site alone, covered in things I couldn't name, and the chopper was already there. The pilot said nothing, didn't look. At me. I don't even know if I imagined the trip back. They burned my gear, scrubbed me, quarantined me, and then they let me go, too easily. I've been home for 5 days now, but I don't feel home. I haven't slept. I haven't eaten. My stomach burns like it's full of coals. And last night, I felt something move inside me, deliberate, not a spasm, but a shift, like something turning over in its sleep. I looked in the mirror and saw my veins pulsing black. There's pressure beneath my ribs pushing up. This morning, I woke up with claw marks on my bed sheets, and they weren't mine. If you're hearing this, delete the coordinates. Burn them. Don't send a team. Don't investigate. It's too late to save me. They let me go. For a reason, so they could spread. The island doesn't need more bodies. It already has me, and soon it'll have you.